4 billion miles from the sun, something small and forgotten is doing what it should not be able to do. It is cooling itself, using nothing but a shroud of haze wrapped around its own sky. No one built this machine, and no one expected it to exist at all. Stay with me, because what scientists just confirmed about Pluto will leave you speechless. If you are fascinated by real scientific mysteries, hit subscribe to join us. In 1930, in the cold dark of an Arizona observatory, a 24-year-old named Clyde Tombaugh spent hours comparing photographic plates, hunting for a single point of light that should not move. One night, something did. That shifting speck became Pluto, serving as the 9th planet for nearly a century until a single 2006 vote stripped it of the title. For decades, it felt like a closed case. Small, distant, easy to bury and forget. Then in July of 2015, after 9.5 years crossing the dark, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft tore past Pluto at more than 30,000 miles per hour. One pass, no orbit, no second chance ever. What it found rewrote everything scientists thought they understood. It revealed a vast, pale scar shaped like a heart, and mountains of water ice climbing more than 10,000 feet, frozen harder than stone. It showed fields of nitrogen ice churning beneath the surface, slow and patient, as if something down there were still breathing. Above it all, haze was rising hundreds of miles into a sky the color of a bruise. Pluto did not look like a dead world. It looked like something still becoming, as if whatever shaped it had not yet finished. But New Horizons had only that one look before vanishing back into the dark, and whatever it missed would remain buried until something else came looking. Unlike New Horizons, the James Webb Space Telescope does not fly past anything. It watches. It takes the faintest trace of light, reaching it across billions of miles, and pulls it apart, wavelength by wavelength, until it can read the chemical signature hidden inside. The problem was untangling Pluto's faint signal from its moon Charon, pressed so close beside it that older telescopes could never separate the two. Webb's mirror finally cut one from the other. Starting in 2022, once it was fully calibrated, Webb turned its gaze toward Pluto. It has been returning ever since. Every few months, another look, and every look a little stranger than the last. The first discovery centers on that same haze. Back in 2017, planetary scientist Shi Zheng at UC Santa Cruz proposed something that felt almost wrong. On Saturn's moon Titan, haze traps heat like a shroud. On Pluto, it may be doing the opposite, drinking in what little sunlight reaches it, then bleeding that warmth straight back into the void faster than Pluto's thin atmosphere could ever hold on to it. Not a shroud, but a drain. At the time, no one could prove it. But in 2025, a team led by astronomer Tanguy Bertrand at the Paris Observatory used Webb's infrared eye to measure Pluto's atmosphere directly, confirming almost exactly what Zheng had predicted 8 years before anyone could check. It even explains an old mystery. When New Horizons flew past in 2015, it measured an atmosphere roughly 30 degrees Celsius, colder than any model predicted. Now we know why. Pluto isn't simply cold because it sits far from the sun. Something inside its own sky is actively draining the warmth away. Scientists suspect the same quiet drain might be shaping other hazy distant worlds too, including Neptune's moon Triton, and it may even echo what Earth's own sky looked like billions of years before anything here learned to breathe. There's a second discovery tied to that same haze. Even the thin, dying light reaching Pluto is enough to tear methane molecules apart high in its atmosphere. The pieces recombine into dark, reddish compounds called tholins, falling slowly and endlessly, settling like ash from a fire no one can see. Tholins belong to the same family of molecules some scientists believe once rained onto early Earth and helped spark the chemistry of life. On Pluto, that process has been running unwitnessed for roughly 4 billion years, a slow, endless snowfall of the raw material for life, falling onto a world too cold to ever wake up. Surface temperatures sit around minus 380 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough that nitrogen gas would freeze solid on contact. That gives researchers something Earth lost long ago, a still-living laboratory running the raw ingredients of life over and over, with no one home to receive them. The third discovery is the one that tends to stay with people longest. Pluto has been slowly bleeding its atmosphere into the dark for billions of years, and for a long time, no one knew where all that escaping methane actually went. Something has been catching it. Pluto's largest moon, Charon, spends decades at a time with its poles locked in absolute darkness, with no sun, no warmth, and nothing else. Into that darkness, the escaping methane drifts, freezes, and waits. When the light returns, radiation tears it apart and reforges it into the same blood-dark stain that marks Charon's poles permanently. Two worlds, bound together in the dark for billions of years, quietly trading atmosphere and color back and forth in a transaction neither one can stop. In October 2024, researchers Sylvia Protopapa's team at the Southwest Research Institute confirmed something new frozen onto Charon's surface. Carbon dioxide dragged up from beneath the crust by old impacts, and hydrogen peroxide born from years of radiation quietly rewriting the ice itself. The surface keeps adding to the dread. Fields of jagged ice blades, some taller than a 100-story building, likely encircle roughly 60% of Pluto's equator, standing in the dark like something built rather than grown. Two massive frozen peaks may be cryovolcanoes, mountains that once erupted not with fire, but with a cold slurry of water, ammonia, and methane forced up from deep beneath the crust. All of it points toward one of the most debated ideas about Pluto, that somewhere beneath 100 miles of ice, an ocean is still moving, kept liquid not by warmth from the sun, but by radioactive decay quietly burning at Pluto's core. There's no photograph of this ocean, only a pattern. Cracks and ridges lace the surface the way you would expect from something restless shifting underneath. And that same heart-shaped plane sits directly above a place where something denser than ice seems to be gathering out of sight below. Similar buried oceans are already suspected beneath Europa and Enceladus, moons that show far more obvious signs, including Enceladus's plumes of water vapor venting straight into space. If a world this small and cold is hiding an ocean of its own, buried, silent seas might be far more common across the outer dark than anyone assumed. Right now, there is no funded mission planning to return to Pluto. The outer dark is expensive and slow to reach, often taking a decade or more just to arrive for one fleeting pass. So distant frozen worlds keep losing to closer, faster targets. For now, Webb is the only thing still watching. But Pluto is not alone out there. It drifts inside the Kuiper Belt, a vast frozen ring beyond Neptune holding hundreds of thousands of icy bodies and an estimated trillion comets, all moving through absolute silence and absolute dark, far from anything resembling warmth. Beyond even that lies the theorized Oort cloud, another trillion frozen bodies scattered so far out that the sun becomes just another star in the sky, stretching nearly a quarter of the way toward the nearest one. Pluto is simply the one object close enough and clear enough for us to see any of this. If one small dismissed dwarf planet was hiding this much beneath its surface, it is worth sitting with what everything else out there, unseen, unlit, and untouched, might be hiding too. If you are fascinated by real scientific mysteries, subscribe and turn on notifications. Webb is still watching Pluto, and in part 2, we will uncover the discoveries that make this forgotten world even stranger. Thanks for watching, and keep watching the shadows.